Sure.
We are going to have Brandon speak now on social media. Take it away.
Drum roll. So today, what I want to do is I want to do kind of what Tara did the other day, when you actually kind of sat down, asked questions, and really kind of get some information from you guys. Because one of the biggest challenges I find with social media marketing is that we all have our perception of what it is, what can it do, and how can it really incorporate into our business. I mean, the first question I have to you guys, how many people actually use it in their business today? So 1, 2, 3.
Technically, or?
Yes, you do use it. So now, when you guys, the guys that use it, do you use it daily, weekly, monthly?
Daily.
Daily, weekly?
Hardly.
What's that?
Hardly I use.
Hardly? Okay, well that's a good way to use it, okay. Vanessa?
Every other week, maybe.
When it feels nice, you know,
Exactly.
it's kind of rainy outside.
I get told I should be using it.
When there's an email sent out. Have you updated your Facebook recently? When you get an email from Len? He's at work.
I tweeted yesterday.
Yes, oh good. There you go. Was it about cats?
No.
Okay. What about yourself, Honora?
No, I don't. I tweet for all kinds of other things, but not for business. I tweet for Rotary, I tweet for fundraisers, but I haven't really got on to business.
So what does social media marketing mean for you guys? Right, the ones that, you know, are thinking about using it, what does it really mean for you?
It's just a way to share.
Okay.
Share your knowledge or what you're doing, or like it's really what you're doing, what's going on.
Okay.
That's what I see.
What about yourself, Honora?
I look at it more as a social. I guess I've taken the social aspect and forgotten about the business side of it.
Mhm.
I look at it more as a social thing. To
Okay.
be honest with you, which I guess that's what it's meant for.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you talk about your own personal talks, presentations, events that you're doing?
No, I don't. I might post it on Facebook. I might.
Right.
I might not.
Right.
I might even put it on my website.
Maybe.
Not.
Maybe. Kind of.
It's an occasional thing.
The day of. Let everyone know I'm here.
Yeah, that's me.
Right? Tara?
When used properly.
I like how you qualify that.
We'll talk about that later. It should be a tool to create brand awareness and potentially drive business.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Yourself, Vanessa. What about yourself?
I use it for my shows.
Right.
I do advertise on there for my shows, but I don't do the weekly, like a weekly update or do a blog or something like that I should be doing to have it consistent and to have people in everybody's mind all the time.
Okay.
I don't do that, and I should.
Okay. Manish?
No, it's good. I don't use it.
Yeah, Jamie doesn't use it. I already know that.
Like for me, it's mostly to cover 3 main tools that we are having.
Okay.
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Okay.
Basically, the Google Plus is not, it's not at par with these tools.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the for me, hardly use I mentioned that, but if it's used properly, that way she said, it can definitely generate some good contacts and leads with this.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, if you do it on the regularly post or update your profile or your pages, definitely you can drive some business to it.
Mm-hmm. Now you said Google Plus doesn't work?
It's not at par with Google,
with Facebook and
Facebook and Twitter.
Now, do you know that with search engine optimization?
See, I'm not talking about the search engine. I'm talking about the social media.
But even that, what happens is because people are using Google Plus now for both, it's starting to become a network. Right now, I find I get more followers now on Google Plus than I do on Facebook on a daily basis. Just because they're not just finding me on Google Plus, they're actually finding me on Google. When they're doing a search, they're finding me and then coming back over to Google Plus.
So there is 2 aspects of it. One is the social media, another is the search engine optimization.
Well, the thing is what you're saying, what I'm trying to prove here is that they actually work hand in hand. So what happens when someone search for example, me, social media marketing, right, and they find a post that I just posted, they'll go back to Google Plus and then follow me. So there's a little added value there. Other than Facebook, you don't see it as much on the search engine optimization as you would as Google Plus now, because Google kind of gives you more leverage if you use their tools, right? So, I mean, when you look at social media marketing, it's not just the networks themselves, it's all tools combined. And we're talking about Pinterest and Instagram and photography. Remember, Facebook's integrating all those into their systems. So it's not just Facebook themselves, it's all their applications that they use to help manage and to help kind of promote your product and services. Now, one of the things we're talking about here is business strategies. Before I ask Glenn his question, the one thing is like the 80-20 rule. Right? 80% of the time, like Vinora's saying, it should be more sociable, engaging, interacting. Right? The other 20% should be promotional. Because what now happens is, as we know with business, people work with people they know, like, and trust. So when you build up that relationship first, they're more interested in what you're doing. But if you don't build up a relationship, you keep pitching and selling, it's just another feed to them that's going by. Right? They're not really intrigued. But if they know you personally, now they're wondering, oh, what's she doing this weekend? What's happening? So that's why it's better to build up those relationships and spend some time. I'm not saying spend all your hours, even if it's once a week, maybe twice a week, just engaging with people, seeing what they're up to, posting some comments, interacting, right? And then when you're starting to have promotions, it's better accepted, and you'll see more sharing, liking, comments, plussing, whatever that may be, and engagement in those posts that you really want from your business strategies. So what about yourself, Len?
I actually use it to create more awareness of, I guess, who I am,
right?
Rather than trying to pitch to make a sale. I find it's there for me just to become top of mind in people's experience, so that when they need a service, they would remember, okay, Len is the guy who can provide this. And so I post all kinds of stuff. I'm posting, for example, I'm going to New York. I post a lot of stuff that are not personal to the point where it becomes, my private information, but things about me, things I'm doing, where I'm going to be, things like that. Basically trying to just build relationships. That's what I'm focused on right now. It's really just about trying to connect with as many people as possible, so that I become top of mind when they require a service. They'll remember that that's some of the things that Len does. So that's pretty much what I use it for.
Awesome. Now, I have a question for you, Vinod. So for a business coach, what kind of strategy mindset do you think people go through when they're looking at purchasing?
When they're looking at
Purchasing a product, a service, or service.
Well, first of all, they have to identify a need. And once they identify the need, then they would go through figuring out where to get that need met.
So kind of research?
Research, yeah.
And where do most people research?
Internet. I mean, even it doesn't matter what business we're in. It really doesn't matter. 70% of people go to the internet first before even asking for a referral from their friends. They will go to the internet. If they're successful there, they will purchase. They might, from there, this is what I see anyway, people go to the internet. If they like what they see on the internet, they won't even ask their friends for a referral, but they will go in and they'll check the, what do you call it?
The forums or reviews?
The reviews, thank you. Check the reviews if they have a good review. I mean, I just did that myself.
So now you got to think of that, like, and Vinora's saying that she doesn't use, Facebook and that much, but you look at that, that's all integrated in your social sites now. The actual research there, as well as the forums and the availability to see what people are saying about products, are all on the social sites. So you're not also now getting social proof from your friends and family and people that you know are saying they like the product. It's just not John from Australia says I like the product. It's Joan that you went out with 2 weeks ago said, yeah, look at the pictures that I've taken with this new camera, right? Oh my God, it's so great. Now it's in your mind. Well, she likes it and I know her, so it must be good. Right? So it's now that personal relationship. That's what the social sites are doing now, is giving you that personal one-on-one, to maybe 1 to 2, depending on the network, connection, where now you can see the reviews and it seems more personal. It's not just someone you don't know. Now there's actually a connection. So when someone's reviewing your product and service, now there's more of an engagement. And through the social sites, you'll actually see people start to follow and ask questions, right? So if someone reviewed your coaching, right? Another person who's looking for coaching might connect with them on Facebook and say, how was the coaching? What was the cost? You know, what was the experience? What was the results you got? How long did it take? And also now they're getting that review, that testimonial in person now versus a testimonial just on your website. They're actually engaging right away.
I have a comment to that too. I know somebody who got really, really nailed on Google Places
Right.
from a competitor and a client who was quite unfair
Right.
about the whole thing. So it was resolved and there was a happy ending, and you know, it was a situation of, well, you know, if you were unhappy with something, you didn't come to me, but you went on Google Places, and now, you know, thousands of people saw this angry, nasty review.
Right.
And now the client's perfectly happy, but how do you go back and rectify that? So you have these random strangers, and I've never liked Google Places for this. You have these random strangers, you don't know who's posting, and they're posting these reviews that can be great, but they can be terrible.
Yeah.
And I've also seen some very incredibly phony ones that are clearly and obviously staged, which also is, I mean, it's cheating.
Yeah.
Ultimately is what it is. Then you go into Facebook, or you go onto, you know, your social media sites. Then your testimonials are legit. There's a name and a face attached, and then you have the ability to interact. So if somebody makes a comment, you can then, you know, reply and say, you know, well, thank you for the kind words, or, you know, I'm sorry that this didn't work out, but, you know, here's what I'm willing to do for you. I'll refund you that, and like you can show that measure of good faith that you're making. So I see a very big rift between the Google Place reviews and the social media reviews for that reason alone.
Right.
And it's very clear to me that this holds a lot of power in a negative way, where the social media sites really, I can't see the potential for that negativity to seep in there, because it's much more controlled.
Control, and you have a lot more access. And like you're saying, and I totally agree, you have a lot more access to rectify the situation, right, like in real time. When someone posts something, if you have an alert, or you have it on your phone, or your PC, you can see someone commented on a post or whatever, or they commented on your timeline or whatever that may be, and you can see what their comment would be. So you can engage with them in real time saying, oh my God, I'm sorry you had that bad experience. And what happens is, and exactly what Tara's saying, how you do your customer service online will show the rest of the network how you deal with, you know, negative comments, because that's really one they want to see. Yes, they want to know if your product or service is good, but they want to see how you deal with challenges too, because if they have a problem, they want to know you're going to provide support. Right? If they have a challenge with, you know, SEO or a website, they're going to know that you're on the ball, that, you know, if they're down, which sometimes it does happen.
I come across with a lot of times, you know, someone has written bad, you know, some shit about my company. Seriously, you know.
This is on the internet, just let you know.
Yeah. Can you remove that? Can you help us to remove that? See, it's your business, you know. You are doing the marketing. How can I do that?
Right.
There is no way to do that. So that is why I always push the people, you know, if you want some feedback, just attach and tag my name or picture. The way, you know, she mentioned that. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever you are doing.
Right.
At least some name is there. Whatever the bad, good, bad, or ugly is coming to you, you know someone who has written that, and you have the way to rectify that stuff by, you know, replying back to some stuff. So it is public. You can write anything, but when it is your face is attached to it, you know, you always take care of that stuff.
No, I mean, some people do. I mean, as Tara and I myself taught, they'll post whatever they feel is relevant to them, right, at that point in time. If it's their cat just got sick and, you know, coughed up a fur ball, and you get a picture of that and you're like, okay, versus it's maybe a talk or presentation that they're doing, right? It's all relevant information to the individual, what they're dealing with. Now, when it comes to a business strategy, we have to look at after our names, our company names, and our brands. So what we have to do is always be aware of what people are saying, and the ones it's thanking the people that are giving us good comments and giving them extra value, but also really looking after the ones that are giving us negative feedback. Those are the ones I find are the most important, because that will show how your business, you know, engages, interacts, and supports. Right? And like Glenn's saying with his education, that is key, right? It's the education of your community, both the valuable education of your product and service and how it can help and relate, and product trends and things that are happening, plus the education on how you work with clients, because they want to see both.
Plus getting to know the person.
Yeah, for sure. Right? And that's what I'm saying, like the 80-20 rule is that you always try to be kind of engaging, interacting, let them know what you're up to. And if you go away and do something kind of fun, you know, like Glenn went to New York, you know, kind of let them know, like, you know, you're not just this business. You're a whole person, right? You have a life, you know, you enjoy yourself. And what happens is people want to relate to you. They want to engage. It doesn't matter what level you are, they want to relate and see. And some people might live vicariously through you. Like, oh my God, I wish I could go to New York, but you know, I'm working 60 hours a week, you know, I can't go, I can't afford it. But Len, how was your trip? Do you have any pictures? Do you have any of that? So they start to engage and build up the relationship. Now, do you guys have any questions for me? I know Suzanne had a question about Pinterest. You still have that question?
Before you get into that, just maybe
Sure.
a comment as it relates to Facebook. A lot of people think that, well you putting this there and you're trying to see how do you monetize this time that you're spending on social media. And sometimes you will not be able to do that initially until you have built up relationships. I, for example, place a post and people like to get likes or comments. But one of the things that I do is sometimes I go back beside the post, and as the administrator, I can just see how many people have actually read it.
The impressions are...
The impressions. And very often, that number is very large compared to the number of those who comment or even like. People are not always going to give you a response right there with a like or a comment, but at least you have made an impression. And so you're just like with advertising, right? You may constantly buy an ad in the Brampton Guardian or whatever it is, and you may not get a call right away, but the fact is people are actually seeing you, and the more impressions you create, the more likelihood you will get some feedback out of it eventually. So my philosophy is to use this more from a relationship building standpoint rather than just trying to make a sale.
And kind of to add on that, and I agree with Len, it's creating a habit too. If you can do that on a consistent basis, the people, your followers, your community will start to know at this day on Thursday or Friday, you're posting new content, new information. So now they'll start to come in, they'll start to see it more. And then all of a sudden you'll get 5 people, 15, then you'll get 100. And those impressions will start to increase because now they have a habit of coming to your fan page, to your, even your personal profile, that you have new information this time. And when it's valuable information, they want to know more. Then what happens is now people start to share it. And now people start to comment, and that starts to grow. And to kind of talk about, and this is a question I get constantly from businesses, what's the ROI? So if I use Facebook for 30 days, what's the ROI? Well, the ROI can vary from $1 per person to $10,000 per person. You can't justify that because each person's individual, their lifestyle, their business strategy, who their network is, it all varies. The value of the relationship is the most important. Right? And there's no dollar amount you can put on a value of a relationship because that relationship could be a network partner that you meet up with and now brings you tons of referrals. But you don't know that until you build up that relationship. Right? And that's the key thing. You don't want to go with the intent that I'm going to get this guy as a business partner because he has a huge network. You want to build that relationship so you can work with each other. Right? And you can build, and then what happens is how it grows. But you know that you can help each other's business. And that's the thing with the social sites when you're looking at it. It's about the relationship, not the actual monetary value. Right? And that's what, and I agree with Lynn, and that's what the challenge is when people look at in a business strategy, the analytics, they're trying to look at, so if I get 100 followers, how much business I'm gonna have? And I always tell them, well, you can get 100 followers, but does that mean you're directing them, educating them, communicating, providing support so that they're coming to your site, so now that you can, put them through your sales funnel? Are you doing that? Are you putting that process out there? Are you helping them? Are you providing support? Not just pitching and selling. Right? So it's a whole different strategy when it comes to social media. When people think the print and graphic kind of area, they think they can do that on social media where they can post their banner, they can post their percentages of like, get 15% off, and they think people are going to be engaged, and it's not. And that's what happens is because of the feeds, you see tons of those, hundreds of them, depending how big your network is, maybe even thousands, right? Going throughout a day. But when you see the ones that are engaging, interacting, their networks are growing very quick, very fast, and they're getting more value at the back end because now those people are starting to engage with them and building those business relationships as well. So now, talking about Pinterest.
Yeah, how do you bring that into the business? Like, I see it as somewhere where people just post cool things that I would like to look at. But in terms for me, for real estate, what do I post on there?
So when you look at, for example, my client, the one I'm working with, he does articles, And what happens in the articles alone, we have images of houses, whatever that may be, and he's talking about a topic. In Pinterest, you can post the pictures and backlink those to your article. So I know you have a blog, right? So if you're writing a blog post about a house that you're maybe reviewing or you're helping a client, you can post that image on Pinterest, backlink it to your blog. Now when people click on it, they're going to go to your blog.
Oh, okay.
So that's how they use like Pinterest as a marketing tool, right? Now, of course, I mean, everything's in moderation. Don't just put houses, sale, new property. Kind of give some interesting things, maybe, some, flowers of a garden that someone may have, interior of a house, so kitchen, living room, bedroom, maybe if it's before staging, after staging, right? Just kind of show some variations, which then will get people intrigued. It's just not about buy a new house, sold a new house, buy a new house. Because then they're like, okay, well, this person's just a real estate. All they're trying to do, is sell me a house or buy my house or whatever that may be. They're not really engaged. But when you give them content, like we talk about information, now they're more intrigued to go and kind of click through from Pinterest to actually your blog, and now read your blog, right? And go, oh, okay, wow, I didn't really know about staging. I didn't know about how the market changes and this and that, right? Like I know the client just did. He did a grow up article this week. But again, it got lots of responses, a lot of hits, just because it wasn't just about pitching and selling houses, it was just about different types of houses. And what a real estate agent looks for at a grow up, right? And how they would clean it up and so forth. So just different ideas and different concepts that he puts out there versus just kind of pitching and selling that he's a real estate agent. Okay? So think about that like when you're doing your articles, right? And you're doing like your posts. Say, okay, how can I make this intriguing? What image can I use that will get people to come back?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah. You caught my interest earlier when you started talking about ROI and value.
Okay.
Numbers,
Well,
of course.
you're an accountant, so yes.
You've been talking a lot about making this a personal thing,
Mhm.
and networking yourself, partly socially, partly your business,
Mhm.
making it an extension of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to transition the name on any of these accounts or put it in a position where you're actually able to sell the list? Because potentially that's where a lot of a company's value could be.
So what happens is, yes, there is a potential to do that, where you have like a fan page, right? Fan pages are the ones that people do that for, where they create a massive community of 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 likes. And, what's that?
2.5 million.
2.5 million. And what they do is, people have a perceived value of what a like is cost. So it could be anywhere from $1 to $5 per like. And what happens is then, they can turn around and monetize that and sell that. Is that the right way to do it? I would say probably not, because what happens is if you turn and sell that list, people are going for, say for example, we're talking about accounting, we're talking about real estate. Well, say you get all these people for accounting and they're talking about, financial and investments and strategies, HST, and then you sell that list to a real estate agent. Now that list doesn't.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right.
You'd have to have the right market for it.
For sure.
But can you, if for instance, we'll pick on Vanessa here.
Right.
Her company is House of BC, and Vanessa herself, if the account that's tweeting is in her name,
Right.
how does she sell that list as part of House of BC 20 years from now?
So for 20 years from now, say for example, House of VC is, again, the whole product line. She's created this multi-million-dollar franchise, House of VCs all over the world. What happens is you'll look at buyers or investors that are looking to buy the whole product, right? The whole community, not just the list itself,
Right.
but they're looking to buy the business, right?
So you'd be able to switch from a Vanessa Carby account to a House of BC sort of domain?
With the name, you can't change it after 100 followers or 100. It's 100 likes. You can't change the name, but they're buying the whole name, right? That's with the business.
The value of the name, not switching over from one into another.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But if she starts up her accounts as Vanessa,
Right, and
she wants to sell
Joan.
it as part of House of BC,
Yeah.
they're not going to want to continue to use Vanessa at Twitter.
Right, and that's the thing when you look at branding, right? You always have to look at when you're doing it, and that's why I like to meet with companies before they start getting on these social kind of growth spurts to make sure they're branding themselves properly. Is it a business coach or someone that's branding themselves, or it's a corporation that there's a corporate name, right, that they're branding themselves, to make sure that there's ways in exit strategies, or even investors or angel investors, or if they want to look at sell their business at 5 years down the road, that there's strategies that they can do, that they're not tied that, yeah, I can't sell it because now it's, you know, Brandon's, you know, social media marketing. Well, John's buying, he doesn't really want my name attached to it. He wants the social media marketing. Right.
If I understand the question you're asking, are you suggesting that the company can actually sell the list of names that they have on their fan page?
So what we're saying is that if a company comes out, and your list is valuable, right? That's what we're coming to the conclusion.
Right, but how do you monetize that?
Well, the monetize, and this is what we're saying. If someone wants to come and buy it, there's strategies that you need to have in place so it can be purchased. So if someone wants
the accounts as a whole.
Right, the business really as a whole, right? So for example, if you're a financial advisor, right, and you're looking to sell it to someone underneath you that's a financial advisor, you might have to have a brand that's not Len Carby. That might be the best or whatever, Financial Advisor Incorporated.
Yes.
So now another financial advisor can purchase the whole product and the list and keep continuing it, versus if they bought Len Carby, it's no valuable to them because now people want to work with Len Carby.
Sure. I think it may come back to something you had talked about a couple of weeks ago in your presentation, where you were talking about goodwill, right? Because to me, the account attached to the name of the company is really just part of the goodwill that you have built up. It's not something that you can actually, well, I guess you can monetize the corporate goodwill, right? And that's just part of it. But I don't know if I'm understanding correctly, you can put a monetary value to that list itself.
Well, yeah, I'm not suggesting that there's a specific value. Like Brandon said, maybe it might be $1, it might be $5, fine.
Right.
But whatever it is, how do you make sure that you're able to actually remove that from yourself later?
Oh, okay.
So that's what
that is correct, having the right name.
Right.
Branding.
Right. That you're not branding yourself as an entity of Facebook as that fan page. That's Brandon, you know, social media marketing. Now Len wants to buy it out, right? The value add that Len's now talking on behalf of me. They're like, well, where's Brandon? What's going on? But if it's the social media marketing incorporated, then Len can take that over and run that as a business, taking over my whole business strategy. Now, when we're talking about the monetary value on likes, the problem is the business people in this era right now are putting a dollar amount on likes, right? They're saying that for every like, it's, you know, X amount. If you have 10,000 likes, it's like $2.50. If you have 100,000 likes, it's like $5.
That's silly.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying when angel investors come to your business.
I was coming on that. I'm talking to a few angel investors. The way the people are doing these days, they are buying the likes. Okay, like suppose if I have 10,000 followers on my Twitter and I have 10,000 fans on my page, it gives a different perception of the calculations to the angel investors. They consider how many followers or how many fan pages, fans are going to pages. If you have more fan on the Twitter, followers on the Twitter, so it gives you more value to your business. So that is the way he said, it's rather than how do you want to pitch your business, whether as an individual or as a corporation And from the day one you start your pitching your business, you need to have a clear demarcation, especially in case of Len and his business thing. It should be a clear demarcation, whether the Len should be promoted or his business should be promoted. Because after 5 years, what should be the exit policy? Based on that, your angel investors or the investor will buy your business, how many fans or the promotions that they can do the business. There's the value of the money these days of followers and the fans. Definitely a figure is there, the way it could be a $1, $5 or $10.
So that depends on the kind of business you're in.
The business. That's the only reason the Instagram got $1 billion.
Well, and then you look at this, and this is to kind of comment on what Manisha's saying. Even with publishers, when they're looking at people who are doing book deals, right? I'm hearing more and more people now saying that when they're trying to get a book deal, they're saying, okay, well, how many followers do you have?
Yes.
Well, we can't do it because you have under 10,000 followers or whatever. And it's like, why does that matter? I thought you guys were the publisher is going to help me grow my business. And they're like, no, you have to do the hard work up front and get this, quota that we have, this baseline before we can start marketing your book. And they're doing this all because now the new era of writers now are building their social networks, right? And getting this community so the publishers have an easier way to market their product or like their book.
I know a guy, Gautam Nath. He's an Indian guy. He came here 4 years back, okay? Just because of LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, in 3 years' time, he was listed in 25 Canadian immigrant. It's just doing that. He is having 5,000, I don't know how many followers that he is having. He just tweak. Because of that, he is in 3 months' time after landing, okay? He is the immigrant, Canadian top 25 immigrant of the country.
Perception.
Yeah.
Perception.
Yeah.
So, can I ask you?
Yeah, sure.
My Twitter account, I set it up like years and years ago before I even really knew what Twitter was. And it's Hanlon78. Like that's what the name is. So what do I do? Do I just start over and create a new one? Like
No, you can rename it.
Oh, I can?
Yeah, you can rename it.
Because you're under 100.
Well, no, on Twitter you can rename it at any point in time. Yeah, Facebook is the.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, you can rename your Twitter account. You can rename at any point in time as long as the name's not taken.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm dealing with
page,
one lady, beautyartistry.com is the site of her. Like she was the editor with, I think, what is that, Flair magazine. Okay, she was one of the editors with the Flair magazine, and she was having 5,200 something like followers. Now she has started her own business. Now just to get all the 5,200 followers with the business, she's having a hard time to get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the previous profile was with the Flair magazine editor, not the new magazine.
Right.
So this was, it's from the day one, you need to have very clear goal.
Yeah, but the thing is, what happens, and I like with Jamie, and I understand because we deal with kind of business people, things change.
Yeah.
Business strategy change. They go bankrupt. They close, and they have to restart, or they register under another business name, right? I mean, we look at nightclubs. They do that constantly. They're Corporation 15723, but their actual company name is like the Dance Club of Tonight, right? And all of a sudden, there's a challenge with their business, whatever, and now they're 172835, right? And now they're the best dance club of the night, right? They change, right? But when you look at
another fire code violation.
exactly, right?
Drinking underage.
They've just become a new company.
And that's what they do, right? And
But that's why I was asking if you can transfer the name and that kind of stuff.
right.
Make sure that you retain that value, I guess, and are able to sell it off later.
Yeah, and that's when you have to look at and always recommend sitting with someone like with like a business coach that can strategize your business plan. What's your goals? What's your objectives? What's your exit strategy? Are you looking to run this business for the next 25 years? Are you looking to maybe have an investor come in or someone to buy you out because they're thinking, this is a great idea. Someone will come eventually buy me out, right? And that's their goal. Okay, how are you going to strategize that whole plan, right? So that it's branded properly, it's marketed properly, and have their strategies. Right? And like Nish was saying, that you're doing stuff on social media that you have when an angel investor comes in. There's a market value that you have 25,000 followers. Okay, so now your business is worth X amount of dollars now.
So these days what people do, and I have seen that, they set up their website, no matter whether the product is there or not, the office is there or not. After the website, they start with the social media office. Twitter, Facebook, just that's it. Something is there. After 1 year down the line, when they have everything, by the time they will have 5,000, 10,000, followers or the band with them. So they can write, that will be the right time for them to pitch to the investors to get more money.
Now, does anyone else have any questions? Good. We're all good?
I learned a lot. This is good.
Well, and that's the thing, like when you're looking at real estate, I mean, you have so many different options to educate your community on staging, mortgage strategies, right? And you have a mortgage agent here that can help you, give you some articles and stuff to really educate your community on the benefits of working with you, the value added. Because I know now, one of the things that my client was saying is that so many people now are trying to do private sales and buy and sell their house, on their own. The problem is they don't understand how much work really is entailed on it, right? And how much they really have to do. So showing them that, there's a pain point here that, you can do it, but if you do, you can go around this way. I can see the camera jumping up and down. So when you give that added value, they can see that, wow, maybe I can't do it on my own because I haven't thought about all these processes, right, that I need to do, right, and all these paperwork I have to fill out and the information I need. So having an agent there and you educate them on that will give them that value that's really why they're paying for an agent.
Awesome.
Good? Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.